Good evening. My name is Joshua Manning. I am the executive editor of the Town Crier newspaper, one of the sponsors of this evening's candidates forum, along with the Village of Royal Palm Beach and the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County. I would like to thank our sponsors for helping us put this together, and I'm only here to welcome all of our candidates, welcome the audience, and welcome everybody listening at home. And now introduce our moderator for this evening, retired news anchor Jim Sackett.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. And good evening, everyone. And I want to add my thanks for our candidates being here for this Royal Palm Beach Candidates Forum in anticipation of the village election Tuesday, March 11th. Tonight we have 6 candidates whose names will be on that ballot. 3 are running for mayor of Royal Palm Beach, and 3 are running for the Group 3 seat on the Village Council. We thank the candidates for participating this evening. The mayoral candidates are Jeff Hamara, Justin Plaza, and Selena Samios. And the candidates for the Group's 3 seat are Steve Avila, Danielle Pinto, and Sylvia Sharps. We're also welcoming 3 people who will ask the questions this evening during our first hour. As you have already met, Josh Manning, executive editor of the Wellington Town Crier, Christopher Vargas, Wellington Town Crier reporter, and Elan Cofferter, representing the Chambers of Commerce. The candidates each received a letter inviting them here this evening, and that letter also included the rules for the forum. And for you here this evening and for our audience watching on the Village's Channel 18, I'll share those rules very briefly so that we're all on the same sheet of music. During the first half of the forum, our panel will ask the questions, then we will have an intermission, then I will ask questions submitted by our audience here tonight or those questions delivered to the village earlier. The candidates will have 2 minutes for opening statements. They'll have up to 2 minutes to answer the questions. And at the end of all of the questioning, they'll have 2 minutes for closing statements. Keeping time tonight, the CEO of the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce, Mary Lou Bedford, and Mary Lou will be showing a 30-second card. We spare no expense on the... Then a 15-second card, then a wrap, and should you, I know you're not going to do it, go over, then I'll have to jump in. The opening question will be answered by the mayoral candidates in alphabetical order, followed by the Group 3 candidates. Then the order will rotate down the line for the subsequent questions. Now, with all that said, we begin with opening statements. Jeff Hamara will go first. And Mr. Hamara, you have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Jeff Hamara. I'm mayor of Royal Palm Beach, and I'm running for re-election. Last year, after the unexpected passing of former Mayor Fred Pinto, my colleagues on the Village Council entrusted me to step into the role as mayor. Now I'm running to complete the remaining year of his term, and I'm honored to share my vision for the future of our village as well as where we are bound to go this evening. Since being elected to the Village Council back in 2012, I've served as vice mayor 4 times and worked tirelessly to build relationships and deliver results for our community. I currently serve as the president of the Florida Regional Councils Association, and I'm a past chair of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. My work with the Florida League of Cities, including as chair of the Transportation Legislative Policy Committee, has helped us address transportation and infrastructure issues here in Royal Palm Beach. Now, prior to my service on the council, I had the privilege and the honor of serving as a colonel in the United States Army. I'm Ranger Airborne qualified, I've led in combat, and I've held leadership roles with federal agencies like NOAA, the FAA, and TSA. During my tenure, I've focused on transportation, on public safety, on schools, on parks, and on seniors. Now, together, we've expanded transportation initiatives, we've increased public safety resources, we've improved parks like Crestwood North and launched programs to better support seniors. But there's more to do. Completing the State Road 7 redevelopment, addressing traffic congestion, and continuing to make Royal Palm Beach a safe, welcoming, vibrant place to live. Leadership is all about relationships and authenticity. I believe my experience, my vision, and my dedication make me the best candidate to continue leading our village. My name is Jeff Amara, and I ask for your vote on March the 11th.
Thank you. Justin Plaza.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I know it takes some time out of your day. However, I come before you today, not as a candidate for mayor, but as someone who deeply cares about our future of this town. My mission is simple: to listen and to work alongside you and address the concerns that matter most. This is our community, and our voice should shape its future. Whether you have ideas for improvement, concerns about ongoing issues, or simply want to share your vision for Royal Palm Beach, I'm here to listen. No topic is too small, no topic is too big. For those who know me, you already know my time is freely offered, without question. And I thank you for being part of my life. For those who don't know me, allow me to offer some insight. Unlike many politicians who join groups, take photos, and visit locations solely to reach the largest voter base, I have no interest in fame or personal gain from public office. When I donate to a cause, I do so anonymously. When I donate my time, I don't take selfies or post group photos on social media. My focus has always been on the greater good, not self-promotion. One of my goals is to build a transparent and inclusive government that works for everyone. Together, we can ensure that Royal Palm Beach thrives for years to come. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Finally, I want to emphasize that I come to you with no hidden agenda, no ties to corporate entities, to demonstrate my commitment. And if I'm fortunate enough to earn your vote, I pledge to donate my mayor's salary to the town's recreational sports programs and other community voted initiatives. Let's create a brighter future together for Royal Palm Beach. Thank you.
Selena Samios.
Thank you. Good evening. Actually, I believe Mr. Hammer meant to say he's running for election, not re-election of mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you to the town crier for hosting. Thank you to the Hispanic and the Central Palm Beach County Chambers, and to Mr. Sackett for moderating this evening. I'm Selena Samios. I am the Vice Mayor of Royal Palm Beach. I've spent 15 years in the sports and entertainment field, where I worked with the Florida Marlins when they went to their first World Series, and the Florida Panthers when they went to their first Stanley Cup playoffs. I am currently the Executive Director of the Women's Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County. My responsibilities include managing budgets, spearheading strategic plans, and working with over 200 businesses in Palm Beach County. For the last 8 years, I have had the honor and privilege of representing the residents of Royal Palm Beach. I'm the liaison for our Senior Citizen Ad Hoc Group, as well as the liaison for our Recreation Advisory Group. I promised to focus on 3 things when I first was elected, and I'm proud to say that we've worked on our senior residents for programs, we have worked on our local businesses, and we've worked on government transparency. I look forward to earning your vote again this evening to lead the village into the future, and I look forward to answering any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Opening statements now from the Group 3 candidates. Each of you, again, have up to 2 minutes. Steve Avila will go first.
Hi, good evening. My name is Steve Avila, and some of you guys might know me from my previous run for mayor last year. And it was such an experience getting to talk to so many so many people who live here in the village, and really wanting to hear what they had to say and what they were looking for. And garnering 40% of the vote as a 34-year-old nobody was quite the feat. And the reason why I'm running is because I'm from here. I literally grew up here. I went to Cypress Trails Elementary School. My cousin's here in the back in 2nd grade, and I even got to read a book for her 2nd grade class. And I grew up, was valedictorian of Royal Palm Beach High School, a school that I still keep close communications with their sports and athletics department. And I'm running for the seat because we need representation. The face of Royal Palm Beach is changing, and our families who are moving in are changing. I'm the son of Honduran immigrants, and I'm the first person in my family to really graduate from college. And when I graduated from high school, it was a big deal, not because I was first in my class, but because my father hadn't, and neither of his, 6, 7 siblings? And these are stories that we hear about in Royal Palm Beach every single day. And to have someone who grew up in Royal Palm Beach, who went to school here, who has ties here, who has been to over 76 countries and has returned, that's me. I want to give back to this town that built me. I want to give back to this town that has made me.
Danielle Pinto.
Hello, I am Danielle Pinto, thank you. I am the surviving wife of our beloved Mayor Pinto. I'd like to acknowledge, first of all, Mayor Humera, Vice Mayor Selena, and all of the other council members in the audience today, as well as our moderator, Mr. Sackett, and our host of sponsors. Thank you so much, especially the Town Crier. Everyone loves them, I'm sure. And I would also like to, first of all, apologize to our citizens I've been informed by several citizens they missed the 3 services we had for our former mayor, and I want to apologize to you for that. We will commemorate his passing this year, September, so you are invited and you will receive a formal announcement. My professional career is vast. I'm sure most of you feel the same. I have been I served at First Federal Mortgage Company, TV and broadcasting, on-air talent for radio. I have been a part of various nonprofit organizations and spearheading and fundraising. I have been a substitute teacher. I've been a mentor for several organizations. I've been in TV and entertainment in Sacramento, California, where I grew up, although I was born in West Palm Beach, and my family was in the military, so we moved there. And I was educated at Palm Beach Atlantic University. My public service began in Sacramento, California with the former Senator Dianne Feinstein in her office. I was a career volunteer as well as an Assemblywoman Gwen Moore's office.
Thank you, Ms. Pinto. Your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
All right. Sylvia Sharps.
Good evening. Since protocol has already been established, good evening and thank you to the town crier and village staff for this forum. Is it on? Oh, no, my mic went out. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Start over. I'd like to thank the town crier and village staff for this forum. My name is Sylvia Loretta Sharps, a native Floridian and a resident of Royal Palm Beach for over a decade overall. It's always been a challenge for me to describe my background and experiences to others, mainly because I was raised to be humble, but here goes. I'm divorced, the mother of one child, Michael, who is deceased, and I've been working since I was 12 years old. Later on, asked me about my worm business. My career includes working with and in the federal, state, and local government, and those experiences give me the skills and knowledge to be the best candidate for the village council seat that I'm running for. My relationships with elected officials on all levels and being a successful grant writer and project manager have afforded me the opportunity to be able to complete community projects and realize positive achievements throughout my career. Because of the career experiences, I know I can be an effective council person for the village of Royal Palm Beach from the very beginning of my term, if elected. As a domestic violence survivor, I spend most of my free time working with various organizations and my own nonprofit, cooking and feeding those in need, as well as advocating for and helping to relocate domestic violence victims and their children to safety. Being committed to living a life of service gives me the opportunity to create a legacy that is comprised of making a difference that can be duplicated in someone else's life. and I also collect Hot Wheels. Again, thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to answering any questions that anyone may have. My contact information is on my website, sylviasharps.com.
Thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. And now we're going on to the question round from our panel. The first question will be from Joshua Manning. Mr. Hamara, you will answer first, up to 2 minutes for your answers. All of the candidates will answer the same question.
Little edit from earlier, the town crier's office is in Wellington, but the newspaper serves Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, the acreage, Loxahatchee Groves, and Westlake. My first question is simple. What are your top goals over the next 2 years should you be elected?
Well, thank you for that question and the clarification on who you report on. The primary one, my first, is traffic congestion. Dealing with it, finding alternatives to it, which include more choices for transportation. Second goal has to do with our schools, and that is I'd like to see our schools bring home straight A's. Right now we have 3 schools with A's and 3 schools with B's, and so that's doable, and especially with the help of the village. Seniors continue to be a source of pride and also an opportunity for the village to assist in something very important, and that is in particular providing connections through programs and connections through support to seniors. And then fourth, our parks. Royal Palm Beach is parks. It is really, we're at 25 now, and in fact, we're going to add an additional park, hopefully in the next year or two. The parks, though, like everything that is moving and actually used, requires maintenance. And so a focus of that particular area is going to be on maintaining and upgrading our older parks. So those are my primary goals for the next 2 years. As I said, traffic congestion is not a hard one to understand as a problem. If you drive on Southern Boulevard or Okeechobee Boulevard in the morning or in the evenings, you find yourself faced with what is considerably problematic right now. And as somebody once told me the other day, when you ask someone, how was your commute today? The appropriate answer is that's as good as it's going to get, unless we take a very different approach. And we have some different approaches in mind, and I'll talk more about those hopefully later. Thank you.
Mr. Plaza.
Thank you, Ben. My primary focus is to start with a blank slate. Obviously, I have no political experience. I've been part of campaigns. However, my goal is to come in blank slate and just listen to the population. What are your issues? And then address those issues with the platform, giving everyone in the town an ability to voice an opinion and vote on that, and that will dictate my vote. This is not a me campaign. This is everyone. So there will be a vote that goes out to all the town residents that they vote on with a certain threshold and a certain criteria. Whatever the town votes on, that's what I will be voting on. And I look forward to hearing from everyone, and I will hear from everyone. My door will always be open as mayor. Thank you.
Arias.
Thank you. So since being elected, I have focused on our senior population. I'm very proud to say that we have 2 senior living facilities in Royal Palm Beach, one with a memory care. We are in the process of renovating our recreation center, which will expand the programs that we have for our seniors, as well as different offerings that they have. We have our congregate meal plan over there. We have arts and crafts. There's every type of entertainment or knowledge-based activity that you're looking for our seniors. I would like to continue focus with our local businesses. So I have worked with staff. We've streamlined the process to open up a business in Royal Palm Beach. When you have a business in Royal Palm, you live in Royal Palm, you send your children to our schools, you shop in other shops, you eat in our restaurants. It lowers traffic because you're not running around all over the place in and out. So those are some of the things that we focused on already. As far as our government transparency, since being elected, I've always posted pre-meetings the agenda, how to participate, whether you're physically in the building or if you'd like to do it remotely, as well as a wrap-up with a link to the video so you can watch the video in case you missed anything. The other thing is that we also worked really hard to get a public information specialist as a full-time member of the village. This, we're pushing out more of the information so it's easier to find out what's going on in the village. Of course, keeping the millage rate the same. At 1.92 mils, we are the lowest millage rate in Palm Beach County with cities greater than 2,000 people. So it's continuing that low millage rate, which will then help with affordable housing to keep our taxes lower. The other side is our public safety. So we working with District 9, Captain Niox is over there, and actually now I'd like to say congratulations to our former Major Coleman, who is now Colonel Coleman. So they are very active, and we enjoy working with them over in the village to help with traffic calming as well as safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Avila. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I'm going to go back and forth all night. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's the story of my life. So when it comes to goals that I have, I'd say the first one is to be a voice for change. There are certain things that have just gone by without change for quite some time now, and I think it's time that we really take a look at it. And some of them can be small, like the Rotary Club, for example, starts with an invocation, but our meetings here at the Village Council don't even start with a moment of silence. So that's one thing that I would change. That's a small, but a token of the types of meetings that are held. Term limits. We don't have them here in Royal Palm Beach, and we just like to say that every election is a referendum on term limits. I think it's time that we finally have a discussion on that. Schools. Like the mayor said, we have some schools that are excelling. We have some schools that can be doing a little bit better. And some of that has to do with brain drain. And that's something that I saw firsthand when I was here, because everybody wanted to send their kids to Suncoast or to Dreyfus or to Palm Beach Gardens. And I am a full proponent of school choice, but I want to make sure that our high school is more representative of the residents here in Royal Palm Beach. So I would spearhead a program where we go to Crestwood Middle School, we go to the feeder schools where Royal Palm Beach, where residents attend, and we increase the number of students who go to schools like Royal Palm Beach High School, schools like Crestwood, because even I went to Roosevelt Middle School. I was part of that brain drain problem, if you will. And then the last one is government transparency. If I should be able to know who's making political contributions to your campaigns without having to send an email to our village clerk. That's something that I would also like changed.
Ms. Pinto.
Joining the team on the council would be not only an honor as a public servant in our community, but also as a woman-owned business. I'm a traveling caregiver for close to 62 clients and a housing provider for individuals and small families. The importance of my goals consist of our seniors, and everyone has mentioned our seniors. However, it's important to not only hear our seniors, but respond. Give them the answers they need, get back to them, and to try and help them understand what the situation is, what it can be, and keeping them hopeful. Mental health assistance is truly needed, especially with our new administration's ordinance and with the immigration population. We are looking to have even more mental health crisis with our younger population, the children who will be missing their parents. This is something that needs to be looked at, and we need a plan. We need to know what the plan is after the breadwinner or someone from their family has been removed, and which will cause a financial deficit in the family. So knowing the plan and us being prepared here in the village is highly necessary. Okay. Let's see. I would like and appreciate the vote of our citizens to continue the passion and the good governance needed in order to continue to keep the village a safe place to live and grow and thrive. Thank you.
Ms. Sharps.
My first issue, not really an issue, it's the traffic. If I had my own road, I'd really be happy, but I don't. So my first top goal is to help support the extension of State Road 7 to North Lake as much as I possibly can if I'm elected, which I know Royal Palm Beach definitely supports that. And then to think about alternative methods of transportation. I know as I get older, I don't want to give up my right to drive or my car. But you know, I think sometimes that if I could get on a bus or a train and go somewhere, I'd probably be a lot happier than in the middle of traffic for 45 minutes trying to get to Walgreens. Second, balanced growth, the continuation of such. This village is one in a million. We are one of the best cities, villages in Palm Beach County because of the prior governance that's been going on in this village. And I want to be a part of continuing it to be so, and then working to do the balanced growth so that we won't become inundated with more traffic, and the people will be able to afford to live here. And then last but not least, everybody talks about senior citizens, of which I am one now, and so it really is important to me to allow them to have more input in our decision and our decision makings, having forums with them. We've got teachers and prior legislators that we can be speaking to, and I would love to do that.
Thank you, candidates. Our next question will be from Christopher Vargas. Mr. Plaza, you will answer first.
Good evening, everyone. My question is this. Much of the new development in Royal Palm Beach is in the area known as Tuttle Royale, which is now experiencing some delays. What are your thoughts on this project, and what role does the village have there moving forward?
Obviously, I can't speak to what's been voted on in the past. However, going forward, development projects, new businesses opening, all of that will be handed back to the voting population. Once I have the platform, well, if I'm elected and get your vote, there will be a platform that allows every single citizen to vote on items, even big, small, budgetary developments. So the town will be able to vote on whether these items come in and out. If there is something that needs to be changed or it doesn't feel right, obviously we will talk to everyone involved, and we can also put that up for a vote and see if we can make any changes.
Ms. Amios.
It's a very interesting project. It has high hopes. There's a lot to offer for the village. It's very slow moving. So there are parts of it that have been developed. We have 16 pods of apartment buildings that are already that are occupied and up and running. We have single-family homes that are being built and then sold. There is a entertainment district part. It was a mixed use where we originally wanted to have businesses on the main floor and residential on the stories above. So we're working with that. There are several parking structures that are supposed to be there. The other thing is that there was supposed to be a K through 12 school there that we approved. So we did have a charter school that came through that wanted to do that. The project was taking a little bit longer than should have, and they've left. We did have another opportunity to come in for a private school. So every child learns differently. We have wonderful public schools and charter schools in Royal Palm Beach. We do not have a private school anymore. So that was a great opportunity to have it. I voted for it. It was shot down because the rest of the council didn't approve it. So there are some other opportunities out there that are coming. It is also watching it. I voted against high density, so the developer wanted to add additional homes, which would increase additional traffic. So I did vote against the zero lot line single family homes, and I did vote for smaller apartment units that they were putting on there. So those are concerns of mine because the higher density means the higher traffic and the higher people. I am excited to see if we are getting the entertainment aspect of it and making sure it's the correct entertainment for the village. So we do have to watch that if we are going to put nightclubs, comedy clubs, restaurants with outdoor seating and bands on there as well. So it is just fine monitoring what's going on there, and hopefully it will come along shortly. Thank you.
Mr. Avila.
I think I left my soapbox at home. All right, that was a joke. Thank you. So this is actually one of the reasons why what really got me thinking about running in the first place. I know that it's controversial to call it, but it was the Clematis of the West, or the City Place of the West. What's already been voted on is already been voted on, and as the Vice Mayor said, now it's just a matter of moving forward. There are some other projects in the village where I'm a little bit confused about why they're being stalled. I'm looking particularly at the one in Madison Green, where they want to build the Fairfield Inn and Suites. I look at that in the form of a responsible growth point of view. We live in Royal Palm Beach, sorry, whoa. That's my point. We live in Royal Palm Beach, not West Palm Beach. There's a reason why we moved out here. And I think that any growth that takes place needs to be done responsibly, keeping density in mind. Where this project is going to go, I can't really tell you. But it's something that worries me because I feel like we've opened Pandora's box. What else is going to be next? What else are we going to build that we don't really need? We need a hotel, I'll tell you that. But what we don't need are all the other things that you can just take on a drive to West Palm Beach with an Uber for about $30, $35, because that's what I do if that's what I want. But keeping it here and keeping the charm that makes Royal Palm Beach, that's what's important to me.
Information, 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 clarity. What is the holdup? How can we execute? What are the other opportunities if something was shot down? And what are the alternatives? Spearheading and following through is truly important, for time is of the essence. A project that should have taken a few years can take more than 5 or 10 is, I believe, it's sort of unacceptable. But to obtain the problem and to resolve it and know what the options are is highly important. And Spring Hill Suites, I agree, is a great opportunity for more business to the village, as well as to other mom and pop shops who do need the traffic for their livelihoods. This country, as everyone knows, was based off of mom and pop shops, businesses that are looking to thrive. They want to thrive. They want to live here. They want to grow. And I believe that this project needs to be looked into more, and we need to process it. We need to keep it moving so that we can focus on other projects.
Ms. Sharps.
I apologize. I got sinus going on. I've done large projects as a project manager and 30-year grant writer. The Lake Region Water Treatment Plant that we were building in Belglade, we were supposed to finish in a certain amount of time. 3 storms hit the same year. We couldn't get materials, we couldn't get steel, and we ran into some serious problems. So those things happen. I'm excited about this particular project because I believe Royal Palm Beach Council made sure that they knew what was going to be built. I see the communication with the mayor and with Selena and with the other council members, Jan, that's going on between the owner of this project and the project itself. I'm excited about there being an improv right down the street instead of having to drive all the way to West Palm Beach, that 45-minute trek I talked about. So I'm excited about that. I believe that it's a part of balanced growth. Yes, things change, life goes on, and to be able to enjoy Cheesecake Factory, by going right down the street makes me happy. I am very concerned about balanced growth and projects and the timing of such. So us keeping an eye on it and communicating with those developers is key.
Mr. Amara.
Thank you. With respect to Tuttle Royale, it is, in fact, an attempt to put in place here in Royal Palm Beach what's referred to as a walkable community, a place where you can live and access restaurants, access shops, access entertainment, all within 15-minute walk from where you live. One of the reasons that some of us voted against the private school as an option was because we felt that at $35,000 plus per year for a student, it wasn't likely that the folks living in Tuttle Royale would be able to afford it. Therefore, the idea of having an accessible school would not be fulfilled. And so that was one of the primary considerations. It really broke the model in a walkable community sense. Now, one of the things that we will continue to do is basically stay with our concept, which is for that walkable community, that mixed use, and it amounts to just staying with the site plan that the council approved some time ago. I don't think any of us are happy with the length of time that this is taking, but as was just said, it's a complex undertaking. Actually, there have been estimates of up to $1 billion of investment to be able to make that happen. So it is complex. It is something that I believe our council, I certainly am committed to seeing it develop the way that it was approved, which is a mixed-use community development. As far as the density is concerned, actually density can be a solution for a problem. One of the problems is the cost of housing. One of the reasons that housing is so expensive, the supply is limited. When you add to the supply, as most economic examples will indicate, there's a good chance and likelihood that the market price will drop. So there are a number of reasons for the decisions that we've made up to this point. I think they're all supportable, and I'm looking forward to it moving.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is from Elon Coffer, and Ms. Samios, you will answer first, up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. And again, Alon Coffer with the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce and Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County. It's an honor to be here, and thank you all for taking the time to put your name on the ballot. So our question obviously will relate a little bit to the business community and our membership. So our first question is, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges for local businesses, and what policy initiatives do you intend to implement to support our local businesses? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great question, because as an entrepreneur and a long line of entrepreneurs, it's always an important topic. First of all, I just wanted to touch back on real quick that as mayor, and being on the council with all of us, is that you do need to be able to reach out and talk to people who want to do business with the village. So one of the things that I did is when we had the opportunity to have a private school in the village, I spoke with them. And yes, their tuition was quite costly, but they were willing to put up 10% of voucher for Royal Palm Beach residents to make it more affordable, plus the $8,000 voucher that they would have. So with our businesses, I worked with our staff to streamline the process to open up a business in Royal Palm Beach. I'm proud to say if you go to royalpalmbeachfl.gov, there's a tab that you can click on, and it is a step-by-step guide on opening up a business in Royal Palm Beach. Most businesses say it's difficult, the process is a little tedious, they're not sure how to go. It actually walks you through the whole process, and we have amazing staff that will help you with whatever you need. Going back to making sure that they thrive, signage is an issue. How can we make it so that businesses are visible when you're driving by? How can we help them with that? So we've worked on sign codes. I've actually worked with our code enforcement to find out when you have a business opening in the village and you're in a complex, can you have an open now sign that's up there for 30 days? Can you put signs out on the right of way so when people are driving by, they can see that you're there? So there are little things like that. One thing, when I was on the board of the Central Palm Beach County Chamber, we implemented the Buy Local program. So how can we work with our local businesses? Isn't it great to say that we go to our local grocery store, our local dentist, eye care, pharmacy, all of those are here, mom and pop places. So those are the other thing. If we make a commitment to utilize the businesses that we have in the village, they will thrive also. Thank you.
Mr. Avila.
So there are quite a few people in this room right now, but when you watch the meetings online, there are a lot fewer people, and you see a lot of the discussions that get done, a lot of discussions that are had with businesses, and signage was one of the big ones. Oftentimes, I remember the meeting where Florida Baptist Health was giving us a presentation, or giving the council a presentation on their pineapple, because it's part of their logo, and they were asking for a variance because the pineapple had to be had to fit between certain configurations. And so I think that it's red tape like this, like signage, that's a big deal. But even yard signs, I don't know if you know, but in Royal Palm Beach, you're not even allowed to have political signs until 30 days before the election. The same thing is true. There's signage issues for new businesses as well. So I think that what Selena said was really hit on it. And just to piggyback off of that, I'd say it's red tape and signage are the biggest issues that are hitting businesses here in Royal Palm Beach.
Ms. Pinto.
Advertisement. My suggestion would be maybe signage cars, and a local ad book that would help our local businesses, as well as maybe our local businesses being invited to our council meetings to give a presentation of the services they provide. And that way citizens can come out and they'll maybe look forward to coming to more council meetings. Speaking of that, and I know this is off the subject, however, the council meetings are, to me, people do attend. However, when they don't attend, it's not because they don't want to. Our citizens are very busy with their families, and they would like to know how to obtain the satellite 18, I believe it is. The how-tos, I believe, are important on being more informed in our village. So with that being said, the advertisement is highly important for our businesses. I mentioned maybe signs on our vehicles that the village has. That might not be possible. And then a local ad book.
Ms. Sharps.
May I add? I have a few more seconds, right?
Go ahead.
A kiosk for suggestions or questions from our citizens so that we can see them during our council sessions, during our council meetings, that the clerk or someone can read and present to the council so that we would know what the issues are and maybe the suggestions from our citizens so that we can spearhead that.
Thank you, Ms. Pinto. Ms. Sharps?
Getting to go to the meetings, of course, is always an issue for any and everybody, especially if you work. So by the time you get home and eat and take a bath, you don't want to do anything but go to a meeting. So Palm Beach County Commission addressed the issue by changing the meeting dates, giving more opportunity for people to come on different nights. So I thought maybe that would be something, or maybe even a Saturday, something that maybe the council could consider. I would like to have a small/new business conference at least once a year, or even every 6 months, for the new businesses that have come to the city to become viable, so we can know who they are, so they can meet each other, so they can meet the residents. Because I actually do business plans. I help people become 501c3, establish their 501c3s. So as Mrs. Pinto said, information is exceedingly important, and communication, of course, goes along with that. So, and as an example, Small Cakes, which has great cupcakes, by the way, over in Target Plaza, had a sign, and they got in a little bit of trouble for their sign, and they got upset because we go all the time because there's a new business going into the old CVS, and they had a waving sign on the side of the road. So she wanted to know why she couldn't do her waving sign if they did theirs. Those are the type of issues that new businesses have that, you know, we could get them in a conference, they can establish some repertoire.
Mr. Amara?
Yes, as far as being able to access the council meetings, for many, many years, up to just prior to the pandemic, we utilized Channel 18. And actually, whenever I go to a Young at Heart event, I always have somebody asking me, whatever happened to Channel 18? And I tell them, of course, that you can find it live streamed online. And they said, what? And I said, live stream online, YouTube, what? And so obviously we have something that's available to us. I brought it up a couple of times. It really didn't seem to get any traction. So I will continue to bring it up because I think for a large portion of our population, Channel 18 would actually help to bring more involvement and to bring people more information in a real-time sense. Insofar as the small businesses are concerned, I am so proud of being involved and actually having taken the lead on creating an ordinance which eventually the council did approve that would enable a microbrewery, a brew pub, to be established here in Royal Palm Beach. Now, that's a unique kind of a business. It's definitely an entrepreneurial effort, and especially when you look at who's running it. It's the owners, and they are a family here in Royal Palm Beach. This is kind of a classic American success story. They brought the idea to me. I did some homework, and I worked with our village council at that time, or our village attorney at that time. And we found a way to tap into some other examples of ordinances that would permit such a business. Well, they've been in operation now for 7 years. They're doing well. But as some had just said, they probably could do better with a little more help from the Village of Royal Palm Beach. So I'm trying to set up a roundtable where we can sit down and hear more about how the village can actually help small businesses.
And Mr. Plaza?
Thank you. Best question so far. Thank you. I am a small business owner, so I understand the complexities of owning a small business. Obviously, small business is the bread and butter, not only for Royal Palm Beach, but for the entire country. It is the primary source of income for most families and everyone in it. I'll offer the same thing that I'm offering the residents, which listen, because what works for my business may not work for everyone. So it's best just to hear individual ideas, what works for your business, and how the town can help you moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Manning, your question, and Mr. Avila, you will answer first.
No, this is the best question so far. Okay.
Lord, oh Lord.
The vote.
Real issue in Royal Palm Beach. What would you like to see happen to ease traffic, and what can the village do about it?
I feel like we've already touched on this issue when we talk about the SR7 extension to Okeechobee to North Lake, which just keeps being kicked down the road. Whether it's engaging with different levels of government, engaging with different municipalities, because ultimately it's West Palm Beach, citing environmental concerns of why that's not being done. But this goes back to the whole concept of responsible development. Whenever a new project gets approved, what's the effect on density? What's the effect on the traffic? Who's doing the traffic study, et cetera? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Ms. Pita?
PalmTran Connection at this time has a pilot program called BusLink. Now, I think it's important for PSAs to be done to understand exactly how the pilot works, and this is for future pilots, because myself, I'm a kinesthetic learner, and our children and maybe others such as myself find it very helpful to be shown exactly how am I going to get from my house to the nearest bus stop. I may have a flip phone that will not enable me to have Uber or Lyft, or, well, actually, I think it's Uber that they have the contract with. So this has been a very hard issue for my clients who are in wheelchairs, some of them in wheelchairs, some have walkers, and some have bikes or walk, but now it's extra hard for them, and we have to teach them how to load the app and then use it. My husband had a wonderful idea, and this was part of it, to be picked up at your home and taken to a stop. However, his idea had to do with going to a stop where people gather, and then they're all taken to their destinations or into the West Palm Beach or whatever the direction is they're going, and that would alleviate a lot of the vehicles and cars. Now, my vision is two-tier highway. If we're going to continue to keep our vehicles, we need more roads. So we may have to do a double layer of a highway.
Ms. Sharps.
I want one. I already talked about this. Our traffic is evil to me. I really want that extension to go through. I do know that the county is on board, and they've been working diligently to now come together with the municipalities to try and determine what the fixes are, and that's necessary. We do not live in a bubble. We all have to work together. Okeechobee and Southern are county roads, so we have to involve the state, we have to involve the county, and we all have to come to the conclusion that we may not be able to drive everywhere that we want to go. And if there are other options, then we should think about trying those options. Like I said, things are changing. With increased population, there will be additional changes. That's it.
Mr. Hamara.
Thank you. The traffic congestion problem, as I said, is just going to continue to get worse. There are no silver bullets or simple solutions to it. Actually, the solution is actually a combination and a mix of different things. Everything from modern technology, some of which really is available immediately but is not being used right now in the county. Just as an aside, I visited the Traffic Management Center over on Jog Road last week, and it operates based primarily upon the videos of traffic congestion and the individual's experience in making adjustments to traffic signal cycles. There are plenty of automated computer-based programs available out there right now, not even touching on AI, which would bring a whole nother level of efficiency and effectiveness to managing the traffic signals, which control a lot of the traffic congestion situations. And in fact, if you doubt that, just get on Okeechobee Boulevard between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning on a weekday and see if you can get past Royal Palm Beach High School without getting stopped. Now, a lot of people don't stop at that traffic light, but what they realize is the reason they don't is because they got stopped on Wildcat Way before they ever got there and sat through a couple of... There are things that can be done, and they're just not being done right now, but they can be part of the overall solution, which adds choice. Someone mentioned choices of different kinds of transportation. That's really important. And the countywide master transportation plan that is currently underway is being orchestrated in cooperation with all 39 cities, the county, the school district, and I fortunately am the vice chair of that oversight committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Plaza.
Thank you. Let's be honest, there's too many cars, too many buses, too many schools, too many everything, right? But there's not much we can do other than limit the amount of housing, limit going forward, or the other option is expand the roadways, which we don't have room for anyway. Technology is a solution, and it can only help so much, maybe changing the hours that the school, maybe start them 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, and then you'll have a different cycle. But that's up for analysis. And my primary function outside of running for mayor is I'm an efficiency analyst. So I look forward to re-engaging the community, asking some questions. Maybe someone has a brilliant idea, or maybe there's a few brilliant ideas that we can present and vote on. Thank you.
Ms. Amias.
You know, traffic is always fun when you're sitting it and you're beating your head up against the steering wheel, thinking of like all the other things you could be doing. There are many different components to traffic. So first of all, the lights. We had a resident who had an issue with traffic because he couldn't get out of his complex. So I worked with our village engineer and we changed the timing of the lights so that it gave more of a break in between cars coming off of Okeechobee onto Royal Palm Beach Boulevard to pause so that people could get out of those residents, especially because those are senior 55-plus communities over there anyway. Drive-through, we have to watch to make sure that Royal Palm Beach doesn't become a speedway. So there's a thought, do we widen Okeechobee as you're heading out west? Well, that's all that's going to do is create more traffic in here. So we have to be careful as other municipalities and what their desires are and how it affects Royal Palm Beach. Is it trying to get State Road 7 through to North Lake? So then that's another way of getting people out of here. So we have to watch is what's going on and what the county wants to do, what other municipalities want to do, and how it affects us. Palm-Tran, you've talked about that. How many people know that Palm-Tran got rid of our route? So we don't have, Royal Palm Beach does not have a bus system. Parts of Wellington doesn't. Riviera Beach doesn't. Parts of Palm Beach Garden doesn't. So what they want to do now is put people in Ubers, which kind of seems you're taking a high-density vehicle and putting them all into individuals. My other concern is that there's a bus stop in front of our high school, as there is in Palm Beach Gardens. So I am not putting my 14-year-old daughter in an Uber by herself after practice at 6 o'clock at night with a stranger to bring her home to an empty house, because otherwise I would have picked her up. So that's a huge concern of mine. The other is that if we have our local businesses, so utilizing our local businesses means less driving, so we are in the village in and out versus people coming through. The other one is less lights. So I fought not to put an additional stoplight on Okeechobee. So from Partridge to State Road 7 is 1 mile, 5 lights. They wanted to add another one, and I refused to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas, your question, and Ms. Pinto, you will answer first.
Okay.
All right, this next question is centered around the village projects.
What?
The village projects.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is the most important village project currently planned, and what other village projects would you like to see added over the next 5 years?
Number one is our rec center. The holdup, again, what is the problem? What are the options? How soon can we follow through and execute? I don't want to keep saying this word, but our silver seniors, gold seniors, and our youth, and our families use our rec center heavily. And this was a project my beloved was definitely working on with the council, and it's important for us to follow through and get that done. I don't know, how many of you have been to the rec center in the past 5 days? Okay, so you know the condition, and another project would be our Veterans Park. There's an area that I rented that was just a little unkept, and I think some of what we have is a little overlooked, and I don't believe it's purposeful. However, we just need to fine tune and assess and execute and make it as excellent as it already is, as it was meant to be for the village. Thank you.
Ms. Sharps.
I agree with Mrs. Pinto. The rec center is exceedingly important to me. My main concern, we have all these parks and oh God, they're beautiful. I'm so excited about Commons Park, I don't know what to do. And so I envision the rec center being on that same level when they finish. And so I'd really like for that to be completed as soon as possible and made available for the residents. The one thing about Royal Palm Beach that makes me proud to be a resident is the amount of services and parks and the care that is taken by the council to provide those services for the residents that live here. there are so many other municipalities that don't offer that, but you still pay taxes in those municipalities. Here, you see where your money goes. You see the balanced budget. You see that it's debt-free. So you have to be proud. So I know that the rec center is going to be absolutely wonderful and beautiful when it's finished. I just like for it to be completed as soon as possible.
Mr. Amaro.
So it looks like we're 3 for 3 here. So the rec center, yes, the rec center expansion, it is really, really important. It brings twice the floor space it will when it's built. That floor space will include both sports areas and also meeting rooms. And we were talking about supporting seniors. Well, one of the ways that we support seniors is with programs that require places to meet. Right now, some of these programs are limited just by virtue of the amount of space we have at the rec center. So doubling the space will mean increasing the amount of senior support. One of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is that companionship and connection is extremely important. A rec center can provide a place for that. And so the seniors themselves basically are right now being told that there's really no more room to be able to allow additional folks. It is basically oversubscribed. So the rec center expansion is extremely important, not only for the seniors, but also for youth activities. You know, we've done some pretty good work here in Royal Palm Beach. One of them is the Cultural Center. I'm sure most of you have been over there and seen what a fabulous first-class, Hilton competitive kind of a center it is. And so I have the same high hopes for the rec center expansion. Unfortunately, it was delayed because the proposal or the proposals that were submitted in response to the request for proposal were deficient in a number of ways. And so the RFP was withdrawn, and lessons were learned. It was revised, and it's back out now for further bid. We expect to actually be able to award the first phase of the contract by the end of March. So I'm looking forward to seeing this Recreation Center expanded. And by the way, there's also refurbishment that takes place with the older part, which will make that even better. Thank you.
Mr. Plaza.
Once again, obviously projects is an open-ended question. It can mean anything. However, I'm open to any and all suggestions on projects. Obviously, we have really great parks. I visit all the events ever since I moved here. It was shortly after that they opened Commons Park, and it's really great to go out. The rec center, obviously, there's been some, you know, when I first started this campaign, it was, yes, the rec center is there, but they've recently taken away some services, or they don't offer enough, or we don't know it's there. I'm always going to come back to re-engagement. Let's hear what project works best for everyone, and let's get it out for a vote, and just get everyone to re-engage with the community, because if we all work together, the best ideas will come out of that. Thank you.
Ms. Sabios.
Thank you. So every year, we have a strategic planning session with the village. It's all the elected officials get together in a room, then the staff in each department get into a room, and then they all go through and put down what their priorities are. So we do that. When we're done with that, we have a citizen summit where we invite the general public to come out and tell us what they want. And then what our consultant does is combine all of those thoughts, and then we go through a process to see is what we prioritize from that point. So this is where we get a lot of our project ideas and many things come from. The Rec Center, as the liaison for the Recreation Advisory Board, that is a project that we are working on. Unfortunately, our architect passed away, and that was the holdup in the environment, so that we could not find anyone to take on the project that was already halfway started. They all wanted to start from the beginning, and this is what delayed the project again. My daughter goes to camp over there. We enjoy many of the events that they have over there. I cannot stand the bathrooms, and that is one of the things that I've worked on, that not only there, but all of our park bathrooms as well, because all of them need to be renovated. The soccer field is another thing. So we have amazing complex at Katz Park. We have tournaments out there. It is used all the time. The concern is that we have to shut down the field for 4 months a year because the turf is diminished. So do we go to AstroTurf? That is a project that we are looking on. That is a huge component because now we can have soccer all year round, and that really helps our rec department. Connectivity, how do we connect with each other so that we are not spread out? We do all these events we have 4 major events over at Commons Park. Some of those come from our residents as ideas that they wanted. What different things? The end of the month, we have Shakespeare Under the Palms. Those are suggestions that we have from our residents and projects that we put forward. The other thing is preteen and teen events. So that's the problem, is you're kind of this misfit. We have our seniors, we have our young ones, but it's what do we do at 8:30 at night on a Friday when you're 15 and you can't go out anywhere else? So let's bring back some of those events that we used to
Thank you,
do.
Ms. Savigas. Mr. Avila.
The rec center. But in addition to all the amazing activities that they offer, one thing that I have always felt that they've left behind is the Hispanic population, the elderly Hispanic population. There doesn't seem to be any activities for them. That's why my grandparents, my grandmothers, they both use SOMA here in Royal Palm Beach to kind of have their senior adult activities. It would be nice, and they don't do that every day. They only do it Tuesday through Thursday, but it's not like I'm going to be able to walk into a Young at Heart meeting with an 83-year-old grandmother who doesn't speak English. So I feel like it would be beneficial for the community here. That's slowly changing to have a bit more diverse options.
Mr. Coffer, you have another question, and Ms. Sharps, you will answer first.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on workforce housing, and how can Royal Palm Beach be part of the solution for the current shortage overall in Palm Beach County?
Interesting. As a grant writer, I did work for the county of Palm Beach, and I helped to, in actuality, I spearheaded the grant that we received from HUD for the Glades and Western communities when we were working on workforce housing for that area. We're unique where we are to where we don't have the challenges that a lot of the other municipalities have with workforce housing. Will we work with the county in trying to determine a solution for those issues? Of course we will. There are several cities in different states that I've looked at, and I've downloaded the plans that they have that actually work. And by my going to the county commission meetings, I share those plans with the commissioners. Commissioner Bobby Powell is a new commissioner, but he was a senator. But I share those plans with them so that as they're making those decisions, they can look at other cities to maybe utilize as an example. Can we work with them? Yes, definitely. Do I see it being a critical need in Royal Palm Beach? Not yet. Do I see the housing issue becoming a critical issue? Yes, because of the rents. The rents for a 2-bedroom has gone from $800, $1,200 to $1,800, $2,500 a month. So yes, it is an issue, and I would definitely, if elected, love to work with the county to develop plans for workforce housing throughout the county.
Mr. Romero.
Yes, as was just said by by Sylvia, Ms. Sparks, I really do think that what the county has started is something that has a tremendous amount of potential. In fact, the program, I think, is called Housing for All, and it's funded by a $200 million bond that was actually voted on by the voters. And it's about 2 years into actually being worked, and so there's a lot of new ideas that are still percolating, and the potential, though, is huge, and the need is equally big, no doubt about it. We are fortunate here in Royal Palm Beach that we have a very substantial variety of housing units available. However, one of the things that we haven't done in a long time is an update to our housing inventory. That will tell us where the gaps are, where the needs are, and to what extent those needs for affordable housing and what kind of affordable housing, at what economic level of earning is needed and not filled here in Royal Palm Beach. The collaboration that's taking place right now with the county on the countywide master transportation plan is something that hopefully we could replicate. We could do this again on cross-cutting issues. And in addition to transportation, I can't think of another more cross-cutting issue than affordable housing. So hopefully some of that behavior and cooperation between the cities and the county that we're seeing right now on the countywide master transportation plan will transfer over to affordable housing. There are opportunities embedded certainly in the affordable or housing for all program that exists right now in the county. Thank you.
So this is obviously a sensitive subject with few or many, I don't know the actual numbers. However, this is our town. I think the people should have a say on what comes and what goes. We have an opportunity to voice our opinions, not only to each other, but the county itself. If we all come out in droves and we make a statement, we can choose whether or not to have a workforce housing or not. I really, really need to emphasize what I'm offering here is re-engagement of everyone and everything. It's going to be a technology-based platform where everyone can contribute. You'll know the pros and the cons. Everything will be readily available, and you don't have to come to a meeting to see it. You don't have to analyze situations. All the information will be out there and readily available, and a decision based on that will be made by our residents, the people who actually live here. Thank you.
Ms. Abios.
Thank you. Actually, affordable housing has several components. So one of them is, yes, your price that you're paying. It's also your tax rate. It's your interest rate. So all of that is combined. There's some things we can control. There's some things we can't. We have the lowest millage rate in Palm Beach County for any municipality over 2,000 people. So that's 1.92. That is the least amount you will pay in Palm Beach County. That is one way that we can control what we, for affordable housing for our residents. That was discussed as far as the Palm Beach County Housing Bond. There was a $200 million bond that was agreed upon by the voters in 2022. I'm proud to say that I'm endorsed by Commissioner Sarah Baxter, and it's working with her to see if we can allocate a portion of that into Royal Palm Beach. The other part is approving projects that make sense for the village. So a supply and demand comment was made earlier. You can supply as many houses as you need. The problem is you cannot control what they go for. So we don't have rent control. It doesn't matter that we have an overabundance. It's that we can't control how much they're sold for, how much they're rented for. One thing that we did do, and our previous mayor had the foresight to do it, is that if you're renting, that you cannot have your rent raised without a 60-day notice. So before, it was coming up where people were just raising rates and everything, and it was becoming unaffordable. The other thing is that I do work with our Realtors Association. So I'm informed from them is our supply. It is talking with them to let them know our issues. The other side of affordability, insurance. When your homeowner's insurance goes up, it is very difficult to stay. There's some of our older population that had to sell their homes because they could not afford the additional raising costs. So there's some things we can control, there's some things that we can't, and those are some things that we can work on moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Avila.
As was mentioned, this is a very complex issue that involves not just our municipality, but the county as well, including the $200 million housing bond that was passed 2 years ago. Where the affordable housing or where the workforce housing would be built is something that would obviously require discussion, as would all these other things that all the other candidates have been brought up. But it's something that needs to happen because it's kind of running out of control here.
Ms. Pinto?
Yes. Some of my clients actually live together in a home. They are a new family. They rent a room in some of our homes, and that is affordable for them at this time. We also have giving them a care plan, giving them a goal to where they can hopefully afford their own home. We help them with their savings. We connect them with other providers who can offer grants or what have you. So there is a solution. It's a matter of us coming together, finding out what are the options and which one are we going to try to resolve it. And it's definitely needed, and it's going to continue. So that's my answer.
Thank you very much, candidates, and that concludes the first round of questions. We're going to take a short intermission right now, allow you to get up, stretch your legs, and when we come back, I will ask the questions of our candidates, questions that were submitted by those people here in our audience tonight or that were a little earlier. So we'll be back shortly with our second round of questionings. Thank you.
or do I just need to speak louder?
I heard that, so I helped her earn her badge.
Hi, we are back for the second part of our forum, and as I was talking to the candidates before, we're going to call this the lightning round. We're going to try to speed up the answers to get through as many as we can over the next 45 minutes or so, since we maybe even a little bit less than that, because technically we're supposed to be done by 9. However, we may go a little bit long. We can't go too long. So I now turn it back to Jim, and I thank you very much. We want to see if we can get things mentioned 30 seconds to a minute max, maybe as less as we can. Just try to get through as many questions as we can. Jim?
Up to a minute. Yeah. Okay, candidates, we are back, and Mr. Hermara, you will answer this first question. The lightning round, you have up to 1 minute. Several submitted questions were about the hotel project at Madison Green. What are your thoughts on that project? And if it does not move forward, what happens if the club there shuts down?
The proposal to develop a hotel in the middle of a residential area is something that I just consider to be fundamentally incompatible. It's incompatible on a lot of levels. One of them is we don't have anything that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the middle of a residential area, especially in Madison Green. The buildings as they were proposed are 3-story buildings, which are much taller than any of the other buildings that we have. And they are basically certainly likely to bring additional traffic. When you take a look at the possibilities of that that hotel, which, as I said, was being called the Golf Lodge at one point in time, what you will see is the possibility of winding up with a hotel without a golf course in the future in the middle of a residential area, which is totally unacceptable to me.
Mr. Plaza.
Yes, so I live in that community. I'm fully against it. I don't think putting a hotel in the middle of a residential neighborhood is a good idea. There's plenty of other locations, Okeechobee, Southern Boulevard. There's just no reason to have it in the middle there. And to answer the second part of that question is, if it wasn't open, and I'm assuming that they would go bankrupt, I'm just going to assume that. I personally know at least 10 people that would buy that golf course, rebuild it, and put it back together in short order. Thank you.
Ms. Samios. Please.
It is very touchy because it is in the middle of a neighborhood. The need for a hotel in the village is increasing. I did speak to the Palm Beach Sports Commission. There is a need for a hotel. There are many different events we can do at the golf course. The issue is because it is in a residential area. So what do you do with that? Are there other places to put it on the property? I did talk to the owner and ask, can we do cabanas or chalets? So like a Swiss chalet thing, so that they're smaller, they're less obtrusive. It is not. So the feedback that I've received was that the traffic concerns and the view. So if you're living across the street, you do not want to look into a hotel. But then there are options as far as making it, does it blend in? If it were smaller, if it were somewhere else on the property. So there are options in that sense, but the feedback that we've received from the residents is that they do not want it, and I've not received information from residents who say that they are for it. And that's our job up here, is to represent the residents.
Mr. Avila.
So my previous comment regarding the Fairfield Inn at the at the Madison, now that I've spoken to a couple of residents during our break, was more in reference to the Tuttle project. There is no hotel in Royal Palm Beach aside from the Royal Inn and the Pioneer Inn, which I just learned is within the boundaries of Royal Palm Beach. Go figure. I am worried about the effect that it would have because it's in a residential area, but it's something that could continue to be discussed, and I'm open to suggestions, and I'm open to all people of Royal Palm Beach to talk about it.
Ms. Pinto.
I believe the hotel is a great idea, as well as other businesses. How it depends on Sorry. Okay. I believe a hotel is a great idea. The location is a question. And again, what are the other alternatives? What are the other options? Let's review them. Let's assess it. Let's look at it. Let's make a decision. Let's follow through. Let's execute. Let's move forward.
Sharps.
Well, I am, and as I said earlier, I'm interested in all projects. I like doing projects. But as a council person sitting at this dais, I'm responsible to the residents of this city. And if the residents of this city in that neighborhood don't want that project, then I'm not going to vote yes. It's just that simple.
Thank you. Please. Okay, next question, and Mr. Plaza, you will answer first. Education is extremely important at Royal Palm Beach. Specifically, what actions have you taken as an individual to support, promote, or contribute to our local Royal Palm Beach schools?
Well, that's an easy one. I'm the father of 4 children, 3 boys and a little girl. I'm very active in all their lives and all their activities. Me and my wife donate whatever time we can to the schools, to any of the school activities. We pick up other kids. In terms of supporting, obviously, I'm for everything that benefits the children's lives. Thank you.
As a mother who also raises a child in the village, I'm proud to say that we've gone through H.L. Johnson. I was on the PTO, so on a local level, I've participated quite a bit. Being with our schools is a partnership. We have 8 schools in Royal Palm Beach. spearheaded the plan to let them use our amphitheater because they wanted to expand and have their holiday concerts. So we came up with the plan and put that forward so that now the schools are able to use our amphitheater to showcase the different events that they have on. I also made sure that if we are a sponsor of one, we are a sponsor of all, where they can use our stage over at the Cultural Center. I did advocate for a K through 12 school in Royal Palm Beach, and because every child learns differently, we have different options, whether it is a private, a charter, or a public school. And just once again, being involved in the PTO is one way to really help your schools out. Thank you.
Mr. Avila.
Now it's on. Education is in my wheelhouse. I'm a college admissions consultant, so I help students apply to colleges here in the U.S., mostly top 40 schools. And one of the reasons why I also chose to run was because the way that the Education Advisory Board is set up, at the time, although it looks like it's changed, and the mayor could speak to that, I didn't qualify. And so that was why I ultimately decided to run for office. In terms of how I've given back, like I said, I partook in a Read for the Record at my cousin's second grade class. And for the last 2 years, I've been the top sponsor for Royal Palm Beach High School's golf tournament. So I still maintain ties with the two schools that I went to school here in Royal Palm Beach.
Ms. Pinto.
Mental health is a crisis. Our children need more to do. They need more resources. They have extracurricular activities, of course, at their school, but they need something else like an arts program where they can be floor director, they can be actresses, singers, they have expression, they have feelings. They want to be able to express themselves. And I believe an arts program is definitely something we need to look into. And my background is also in the arts and entertainment industry. I was a substitute teacher. I'm a mother of a 6-month-old, a 3-year-old diagnosed with autism, and we haven't even touched on that subject of autism with our with our children, as well as those who are becoming adults, whose parents will soon be in the heavens, and it's important to care for them. So I hope to share that plan in the future. Thank you.
And Ms. Sharps?
I have extensive experience in volunteer counseling with delinquent youth as well as youth. I only had one child that passed away due to abuse from my ex-husband, but I've had the opportunity to help raise 32 kids, some that have my grandchildren now that I still keep in touch with. Working with the schools and being available to do the volunteer activities is exceedingly important to me. And anything that we can do as a council to help the school district or to help the schools in our village, I'm all for.
Mr. Hermara.
So we've heard a couple of times about Read for the Record. Well, I brought Read for the Record here to this community, and that was about 10 years ago now. It's become pretty successful, and we look to get more people involved every year. I also had a key role in bringing the Navy Junior ROTC program over to Royal Palm Beach High School. Through my background in the military, I was able to write a letter of recommendation, and now we have one of the most outstanding junior ROTC programs in the county. I also was the civilian or the civil representative for the community when the International Baccalaureate program was being considered, and it was established here. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to continue, but the bottom line is I've been involved a lot, not the least of which is Education Advisory Board for more than 10 years. I defended it when it was under attack because it's a very, very great instrument to connect with and support our schools, and I look forward to the next version of that Education Advisory Board.
Right, thank you. Ms. Abios, you will answer first this next question. Who is the one person you admire most and why?
Dead or alive, or doesn't matter?
That was my question.
Was that?
Stipulate that.
They didn't say. All right. Well, I have family in the room, so of course, all my family. One person that I admire most that I wish I had the opportunity to meet was Teddy Roosevelt. I think as leaders go, just so much stuff between our forestry, our federal bureaus that we have, just the agencies, his ability just to take on a project and see it through, spearhead it, do good for all. He didn't have to do what he did. He was wealthy. He didn't have to go into public office, and he served his country. And I think we as a nation are better for it. So that's somebody that I wish I had the opportunity to spend time with.
Mr. Avila.
Question?
Who is the one person you admire most and why?
I was going to talk about my parents, but since we're going to skip that, let's talk about Ronald Reagan. I would say Ronald Reagan. I'm 35 years old, but sometimes I wish that I grew up in the 1980s. Ronald Reagan really made what it meant to be an American, what it meant to fight for freedom, what it meant to go to defend rights. That's why I look up to Ronald Reagan in such a way. My father was 18 years old. No, you were 19 when he was able to vote for the first time, and it was for Ronald Reagan. And that doesn't have an effect on me, but it's growing up and hearing all of his speeches, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. I mean, it's amazing how much he's influenced me philosophically.
Ms. Pinto.
The Lord Jesus, I admire the utmost. And this is a very hard question because there are so many others. Of course, my husband, my mentors, the wise ones who raised me, who instilled good character and training for my purpose and my destiny, and to regard mankind, to first of all listen, hear, assist, serve, and continue to do so. Thank you.
Ms. Sharps.
My great-grandfather, Papa, he was in the Army Air Corps before it became the Air Force. He stayed 30 years and 6 months, traveled all over the world, got called everything but a child of God, but he didn't give up. So he was instrumental in my life, teaching me morals and making me learn how to make a bed and bounce a cord on it. And you all just don't know. I miss that man so much. He is that person in my life.
Mr. Amara.
So I'm not going to skip family, and I'm going to talk about the most important member of my family, and that's my wife, Carolyn. Carolyn is certainly the hardest working, most talented, creative individual that I know. And some might say, you're saying that because you want to go home tonight. No, actually, I'm saying that because it is true. Her incredible kindness and her willingness to sacrifice her talent just for the good of others without looking for any compensation in return sets an example that inspires me and motivates me going forward. Actually, just as a reminder of some of the extraordinary work she's done, I was given this by someone in the audience who wanted to thank us for actually participating in what we call Feeding South Florida, which was a food distribution drive that we held for 2.5 years every Wednesday. And that kind of impact is what I have seen Carolyn set as an example for me and the rest of my family, and I am so appreciative of her.
Mr. Plaza.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jeff here. My wife, as you all know, now I'm the father of 4 children. However, she did most of the work, right? Me and my wife came from nothing. At one point, I was living off her salary. Together, we built a business, and we have a loving home, 4 children, a wonderful life, and I just can't thank her enough. Thank you.
Oh, I went first. I'll go again.
I'm getting ready.
Mr. Avila, you have the opportunity to answer this next question first. What is the most difficult problem facing our village now?
Growth and development. I feel like that's been the motif that we've been hearing throughout this whole evening. The extension with State Road 7 is going nowhere. We have new projects being built that might cause more traffic and higher density. We're at the crossroads of trying to figure out who we are as a people, especially as the Western communities continues to grow, as Westlake continues to grow, as the acreage or ITID tries to define itself. I think it's growth and development.
Ms. Pinto?
Helping one another, regardless of religion, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, you aren't sure. This is the glue that keeps us together and caring for one another. I believe that is a matter we need to hone back in to.
Ms. Sharps?
Responsible growth and continuing the good governance that has got us to this point. For the future, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, nobody may know who Sylvia Sharps is, but I'm hoping that 100 years from now, the good governance that's got us to this point will continue.
Mr. Amaro?
Well, we seem to have a pretty solid agreement on traffic congestion being a significant problem here in Royal Palm Beach. But it's not just a Royal Palm Beach problem, and that's wherein lies the solution. It is a collaborative, coordinated, cooperative effort that is needed in order for us to find the right mix of the various possible individual solutions that can actually help us. We talked about technology. We've talked about transit, and we've talked about adding roads where maybe roads aren't available right now, connecting roads like Seminole Pratt Whitney to Beeline Highway. Those kind of connections alleviate the problems of adding roads through the middle of existing neighborhoods. It is really important for us to have that big picture because that's the only way that we're going to understand what the alternatives really are and what kind of an impact each one of them would have. So being part of that countywide master transportation planning initiative is something that I hold a lot of hope for.
Mr. Plaza?
Can we repeat the question one more time?
What is the most difficult problem facing our village now?
Well, to be honest, I don't really have many problems. I love Royal Palm Beach. I've loved it since the moment I got here. I love waking up here every day, and I love everything about it. As for problems and concerns, they'll all be addressed if I'm elected. Again, we'll re-engage the community. We'll address each problem as it comes online, and we'll find the best solution together. Thank you.
Ms. Amios?
Thank you. Actually, to take the term from our Mayor Pinto,
Yes.
we're Mayberry. So we don't have a lot of issues. Everyone has their concerns that affect them or their neighborhood. Overall, we are debt-free. We have safe streets with our police department. We have an interactive government. We have a robust reserve. So we offer amenities. We have a lot of free events throughout the community. We have a lot of free things through our buildings. I'm proud to say that we work really well with others. So for instance, when we had Hurricane Milton that came through, Indian Trail Improvement District, Congressman Brian Mast, I was at that meeting and we were able to collaborate with Palm Beach County. So we had a FEMA center set up in Royal Palm Beach here to serve the residents of the Western communities. So we don't have major problems. We have solutions and we have little things we can fix. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, this is the last question, and Ms. Pinto, you will answer first. How do you rate the programs that the Village of Royal Palm Beach provides its senior citizens? What else, if anything, would you like to see the village do for seniors?
I would rate a 9 because I don't want to be haughty and believe we're all that. I believe we still have some progress that needs to be made, and I believe we need to hear from our seniors. We need to hear from our youth. We need to consider what they're saying and look into what they're saying to resolve or just to upgrade what we have. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Can you hurry and repeat the question?
How do you rate the programs in the village as it provides for its senior citizens? What else, if anything, would you like to see the village do for seniors?
That's it. We used to have shuttles. I wish they could come back and we could shuttle our seniors and those who need it around our village, because getting around is really tough. Some don't have vehicles. Myself, well, never mind that, but I believe the shuttles would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sharps?
I love Young at Heart, and I was talking about that earlier because I think you're a senior after you hit 50, so I'm past that. They're great programs. I don't give 100% to anybody because I think we can improve and increase. But I've talked to some of the seniors, and there are past teachers and legislators that want to lend their expertise. And that's why I was saying I would love to be able to allow them to take part, more actively in the decisions that we make on advising us as to what they see is needed in the village, to talk to them more, allowing them to utilize those things that they have held on to all these years. If you don't use it, you lose it. So that's all I would want to add.
Mr. Amara?
Art program, of course, is an amazing program. It really is. In fact, that's one of the ones that's capacity limited right now. So we have more people applying to actually participate in that program than we can handle. So expanding that program, I think, is one thing that would be very meaningful to the senior community. Talking about transportation for seniors, actually, the program that was referred to earlier is BusLink by PalmTran. It's actually a pilot program that will allow short trips, first mile, last mile kinds of trips from home to an area, to a location that's within about 800 feet of an existing bus stop. It is a pilot program. It can work very well for seniors, as a matter of fact, and it is something that can be changed if it's not working well. But it does exist, and it is also something that would address and I think help a lot of seniors in our community.
Mr. Plaza?
Thank you. I would like to see them all get on the internet. We're in the modern age, and obviously my platform depends on instant communication. So if we spend the time opening training centers, get them to understand the computers, the technologies, it'll open a whole new world, and the options are endless.
Ms. Samios?
So one of the things I vowed to do when I was elected 8 years ago was to work with our senior residents. One of them was establishing our senior citizen ad hoc group. So I'm proud to say that I was the liaison for that. We spent a year going through with all of our seniors and finding out what they had wanted. A lot of it had to do with transportation because the lack thereof. One thing I brought to is their circuit. It's the motorized golf carts, the oversized ones that you can get in. It's free to go around because they are paid for by advertisements on there. The other one is Our Community Cares, which is now serving Royal Palm Beach. They serve the 65-plus community for free, and they serve the residents of Royal Palm Beach. We needed senior living facilities. Since then, we've had 2 that have opened up in Royal Palm Beach, one of them with a memory care service. Our programs over at the rec center are amazing. If there are any options that anybody would like, we're always open for suggestions. And the other one is I did join the Young at Heart, and I had to get special dispensation from Phyllis Katz, who was the president at the time, because I was well under 50. Not anymore, though. Thank you.
So one part of the question was to rate it currently, correct?
I'm sorry?
One part of the question was to rate it currently. What was the question again?
How would you rate the programs that the village has providing for its senior citizens, and what else, if anything, would you like to see the village do for seniors?
Okay, so I would say B+. It offers a variety of different programs, but like I said earlier, there are some communities that are left untouched, especially those who don't speak English. So that's just what I would say.
All right, candidates, that was the final question. Now we're going to move to the final portion of our forum this evening, and that is the closing statements from each of you. And since we started with Mr. Hermara for the opening, we will start with Ms. Sharps for the closing, and you have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, thank you to the town crier for this opportunity to answer questions that allow the residents to meet their candidates for office. If you've ever completed a box puzzle, the last piece is always the hardest to find. It's usually somewhere on the table mixed in with other things, or it falls off the table on the floor, and you can never find it. It's always shaped odd, and it's really hard to find. I believe that I am that last piece for the puzzle that is the council. And if you vote for me, I promise that I will be a public servant that you will continue to vote for so I can do the right things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharps. Ms. Pinto?
I would like to invite, welcome, and encourage all of our citizens to pose their questions, their concerns, their compliments, and to continue to believe in us. My husband and I have prided ourselves on public service, passion for you, passion for our village, for good governance. We want to do the right thing by you, and we would welcome your suggestions. Your expertise is truly important. This is our village, and we're here for you. And I would like that opportunity, like your vote March 11th of 2020 this year, as well as 2026. We'll be back up.
Thank you. And Mr. Avila?
Thank you very much for coming today. I was shocked to see so many people here. I really had the opportunity of a lifetime last year to run for office, really getting the opportunity to meet so many of my fellow Royal Palm Beachers and to continue to do that now. It's part of the American dream to grow up in, I think, Mayberry, to quote the late mayor. It's the American dream to grow up in this small town and to go off and do all these great things and then to come back. And that's ultimately what I want to do. My platform can be found online on my website at avila4rpb.com. That's FOR. And you'll see some of the same things that I've talked about here, about responsible development, about schools, and you can get to learn more about me and my background there. But it's always a pleasure for me to say, where are you from? Royal Palm Beach. Where's that? Well, you take West Palm Beach and then you drive about 12 miles west. Oh, by Wellington? Okay, yeah, sure, by Wellington. Yeah. But I want to put Royal Palm Beach on the map, and I want people to be proud to say that they're from Royal Palm Beach, just like I am. Thank you.
Rios.
Thank you again for the opportunity to participate tonight. The importance of us here is to know that we are here because one man passed away, because we lost our mayor. And that goes to show the importance of each role up here. There's 6 of us up here because we lost one, and he was a very dear part of our family. I am proud to have led the way for our seniors, for our local businesses, and for government transparency since I've been elected. I'm a graduate of Leadership Palm Beach County and Leadership Palms West. I have a very good understanding of how Palm Beach County works and the role that Royal Palm Beach has in it. As your mayor, I will preserve the village's unique character and charm for the future of Royal Palm Beach by continuing to fight to reduce traffic congestion, manage growth responsibly. I am Selena Samios, and I am asking for your vote for mayor on March 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to start, I know I didn't talk about my credentials or anything about that. What I do for a living is I'm an efficiency analyst, project manager. So my goal here is to come in, not only the first day I'm going to read through the budget, go through every line item. I'm going to find money, I promise you that. That money is going to go directly back into the town. No way we're going to raise any rates or have any additional taxes. I can guarantee you that. With that being said, I love this town. I don't want it to change. changes come hard and fast sometimes, and nobody can keep up. And if the last few meetings I've been in here, there was 3 people in the room. I want to change that. I want to give the town back to the people. If you vote for me, you will have a platform, you will be engaged, you will be notified, and your voice and vote do matter. Thank you.
Mr. Amaro.
Well, thank you all for coming this evening. We appreciate you taking the time to show up here and for the opportunity to speak to you all. We've heard this before, and I think everybody agrees that Royal Palm Beach is a very special place. It's a community that actually is rooted in family values, in inclusivity, and a small town feel, which is an important part of its character. So as councilman, and now your mayor, I've worked really, really hard to maintain that character while embracing the opportunities that change provides. So with your continued support and with the support of a number of folks and organizations that have endorsed me, such as the Police Benevolent Association, the Hispanic Political Action Committee, former Palm Beach County Commissioner Melissa McKinley, Vice Chair of the Palm Beach School Board, Marcia Andrews, Palm Beach County Commissioner Bobby Powell, Palm Beach County Commissioner Marcy Woodward, former Palm Beach County Commissioner Jess Santa Maria, Lake Worth Beach Mayor Betty Resch, Lake Park Mayor Roger Michaud, Belle Glade Mayor Steve Wilson, State Representative Joe Casello, State Representative Deborah Tendrit, State Representative Peggy Gossett-Seidman, and Congresswoman Lois Frankel, and 15 other elected officials. I look forward to continuing to serve you. Please vote Jeff Amaro for mayor on March the 11th. Thank you.
And that concludes our forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to thank the candidates.
Notification regarding absentee ballots. Regarding absentee ballots.
Yes, we wanted, the supervisor of elections would like you to know, if you didn't already, that mail-in ballots expired after the November 2024 election. So if you would like to have a mail-in ballot, you're going to have to re-register to get that mail-in ballot. If you want more information, go to the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections website for more information, but that's how it stands right now. Josh?
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Sackett.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to our candidates, and good evening.
Thank you, everyone.